Welcome to the Law Shit You Should Know podcast. We're here to talk a little bit about the law
and a whole lot about nothing. Every week, we have a new guest to discuss current events, legal drama, and dive even deeper into
the Law Shit You Should Know. Welcome back to Law Shit You Should Know with Elina Santana
and Leslie Marenko.
And today we have Jose Leon. Hi.
Hi. Jose Ignacio Leon.
Oh,
excuse me.
Is there junior? Is there the third? Is
No.
there the Illustrious? No? Okay.
just-
All right. El doctor licenciado Leon.
Well, depending where you're calling me from, it could be licenciado, it could be doctor. You know how it is in the Caribbean.
Okay, Jose Ignacio, tell everybody about yourself and who you are, what you do.
My name's Jose Ignacio Leon again, so we don't get that confused. I am a probate and guardianship and estate planning attorney here in South Florida, but we service all of Florida. I'm part owner of a firm called the Florida Probate and Family Law Firm, where we do probate and family. Sorry to ruin the surprise there.
No, absolutely.
Born and raised and educated in Miami. I've been here for 37 years.
So that's how old you are.
You both are born and raised in Miami, which is not...
It's rare, apparently.
It's rare.
We're
It's
unicorns.
rare.
Unicorns.
Yes.
It's rare.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, who would stay in
unicorns.
this fucking place?
Nobody. Us.
Us.
Not me. I got stuck here.
Oh,
That's
okay.
exactly how I feel.
What you mean
Me
I
too.
got stuck here?
Too.
You know, I married my wife, obviously. That's how that works. But prior to marrying her, we were dating. We were very serious. And she's like...
And she didn't want to leave.
And she's like, no, I want to have an opportunity up in, D.C. This is, right when we were, right after law school. We were serious. And I'm like, I'm not going to leave Miami to go to D.C. F that. I don't know if we can curse here.
It's called Law Shit.
It's called Law Shit You Should Know.
Okay, well, I was like, F that. It doesn't feel natural. So we stayed, and we started creating our professional...
Your lives.
Our lives here.
Yeah.
And then, 2 years later, I was done being an attorney. I was like, this shit sucks, because I was in a firm I didn't enjoy. I was doing something I didn't enjoy at the time. I took a break from probate and guardianship, which I've done the whole time I've been down here, to do commercial litigation. Pro tip, it sucks. Or maybe the firm I was with, it sucked, but whatever.
I remember.
Maybe.
I remember.
It wasn't, no, I don't think you...
We're not going to name names,
what do you
because
mean?
we'll get sued.
Yeah, that's... Yeah.
Okay, well,
yeah.
We'll talk, but I don't think it's the one you think.
No, I'm not talking about your old partner. I'm talking about before that.
Oh, okay, there you go. So, yes, before that.
Yeah.
Sucked. Anyway, so I was like, I had an opportunity to go do sales for, a big company that does, the stuff I like, outdoorsy stuff.
You went and did sales?
I could have, but I would have had to move to Seattle.
Coño!
I love Seattle.
No. The Cubans don't belong in Seattle, babe.
Well,
I
it was
don't
to
think
service.
so. Your name is Jose Ignacio Leon.
It was
no,
to service Canada, so it was even worse.
Oh my God!
And I was like, yeah, absolutely, sign me up. And Sam's like,
sign me up.
I was like, no way. Remember
No,
when
we're
you
not
told me we
doing
had to
that.
stay?
We're not doing that.
No, fuck you, we're staying. So we stayed, and now
Fuck you, Florida it is.
here we are.
And here we are. Wow.
The things I learned on this podcast.
Always some fun facts. But you mentioned guardianship, because that's what you've always focused on, right? That's always been your thing.
Huge chunk of, not a lot of,
when you first started.
Here,
No. Are you kidding me?
No,
There's going to be a whole...
Do you like guardianship?
Nobody likes guardianship.
Exactly.
Nobody
likes
fucking...
guardianship.
It is a goddamn shit show.
It's weaponized, government compliant babysitting.
Yes.
That's a really terrible way of looking at it.
But it has to be
weaponized, government-controlled babysitting.
It has to be that way because it's so easy to exploit people. So there has to be that oversight, but it then turns into kind of like a pain in the ass to actually practice it and to be able to do it. Number one, so you're providing value to the clients, and number two, so you're in compliance, because otherwise you're either billing way too much or you're not doing what you're supposed to do. And we clean up a lot of messes, right? Because we worked with the judges. I'm sure my wife's been on this podcast, and I'm sure she was like, we worked with the judges, we were there for years, and we know everybody, So, yeah, we did. So we got firsthand what happens when you don't do it right.
Yeah.
And I think there's also a huge misconception about what guardianship covers and what it doesn't.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think you need to explain guardianship. Like, what does that even mean?
And explain how you started off working for the judges. I think that was a good...
Yeah, I think so too. But lots of people who are listening, I'm sure, have no idea what guardianship actually means.
Other than, like, free Britney,
Right. Free Britney is the extent of most of the public's knowledge.
Well, first of all, I do like to think a lot of people are listening. I do like to think I drive a lot of viewership.
Wow.
Your milkshake brings all the girls to the yard. Got it.
The 7 people.
3 of which are in my family.
This better be get blasted on this newsletter.
Exactly.
My mom listens. My mom listens.
Your mom listens.
She does. My mom listens.
So I'm sure they have questions
my
about
mom does
guardianship.
not.
Yeah. Well, so guardianship is basically like I said, it's a court structure. It's a case, right? But you take away someone's rights, or depending on the guardianship. But let's do like the one that everybody thinks of. You take away someone's rights either on a temporary or quasi-permanent basis,
right?
And then those rights are assigned to somebody else who is called a guardian. And then that guardian, usually it's a family member or someone very close. Almost always it's a family member, right? That person makes healthcare decisions and or property decisions, like financial decisions, real property decisions, applying for government aid, something as simple as that.
But I think most people, when they hear the word guardian, they think of like kids, right? Like guardians ad litem, and you're going to be the guardian over some child.
Which is crazy because we do get a lot of people calling in and they're like, I want to get guardianship of my
nephew,
7-year-old nephew.
Right.
And we're like, okay, why? And unless it's because he inherited a bunch of money and his parents can't be guardian because they have felonies or something like that, what they're actually talking about in that case is something known as custody. That's time sharing technically in Florida. But if, let's say, God forbid, the parents of a child die, and someone has to come in and basically like take that person in, right? It's not like, well, I was their godfather when they got baptized. I can just step in.
Right. Excellent.
No, that's not the way it works. You have to go to court and get temporary custody, sometimes on an emergency basis, and that's a family court thing.
Right.
So a lot of times you'll see we'll have kids that passed away, we'll have kids whose parents passed away. They're involved in some sort of wrongful death. We don't do personal injury, but we work with a lot of people that do.
Right.
And we had to go and get not only the custody done, so an aunt, a grandmother, grandfather, whoever it may be, is taking care of those kids or those children now.
Over the physical child.
Yes, but then also open up the guardianship so they can bring suit against the people who caused the death.
On behalf of the kid.
On behalf of the child.
Exactly.
Right. Got it.
So there's different kinds of guardianships. They're both basically just like, there's a guardianship of the property, which has to do just with, like I said, like financial stuff, property stuff. And if you're under the age of 18, in Florida, if you inherit or receive in excess of $15,000.
Big money, baby.
Exactly.
Big money. 15 G's. Don't spend it all in one place.
Exactly. So we had to...
that's the threshold.
Yeah, that's the threshold to need a guardian.
Which is like not even a vehicle.
Exactly.
Vehicle? You are not getting a rock and roller Corolla for $15,000 anymore.
Years ago, I want to say it was pre-COVID, so it was probably 2019, right before COVID kind of popped off. These chairs are so creaky. That must be great for the levels.
Sorry.
Right before COVID popped off, I was actually part of a committee in the real property, probate, and trust law section of the Florida Bar, and we were trying to basically submit a white paper to the Senate or the House, I forget who, to basically say, hey, $15,000, that's so 20 years ago. Let's up it to $25,000.
Oh, wow. 25. Whopping 25, bro.
Still not a lot of cars.
Still not a rock and roller Corolla.
But how many probates do you have where someone's getting like $16,000 and you're like, now we got to stick it in an UTMA, we got to stick it in a trust, we got to stick it somewhere. And it's a pain in the ass, dude. It adds so much expense. So it was more so from trying to save money. It was actually shooting guardianship attorneys, myself included, in the foot. But I'd rather not take a case for someone that has $17,000 because as soon as they open it, they're going to be under and we're going to be closing it. That sucks.
Yeah.
That's dumb.
Look at you submitting white papers and shit for the reptile section.
Once upon a time.
The
reptiles?
Reptiles.
Yeah,
real property, probate, and trust law. RPPT.
Your acronym is reptiles?
Reptile.
Bro.
Wow.
and that is actually, I think, a little indicative of all the dinosaurs we have in this area of law.
Oh, that's kind. I was thinking you're all a bunch of snakes. Oh! I was like, wow. That was very kind of the dinosaur.
Where I was going with that.
Actually.
Okay.
I was like, rude. What?
Look at you.
Dinosaurs
Full
were
of
not
fun
reptiles.
facts.
They were probably warm-blooded.
Oh,
You see?
That's
Snakes.
adorable. Look who paid attention at the fucking science museum when he
Thank
was
you.
5.
Oh,
Like,
Okay.
They were
You're
mammals?
welcome. They were like warm-blooded. They don't have to be mammals. Like birds are warm-blooded. And
Well, they're
mammals.
descendants of birds,
how do
right?
you know
Exactly.
this?
Yeah,
How do
dinosaurs
you
are
know
descendants
this?
of birds.
Because I just read it once.
Yeah.
I think we need to get you some more guardianships. You
Yeah.
need something else.
But you do know that they're descendants of birds.
No, I did not know that.
Really? You know the big flying dinosaurs? What are they called? Pterodactyls?
Pterodactyls.
I mean, I could
Pterodactyls.
see how maybe those are descendants of birds, but,
Well, but
what
they all
about
evolved
big
from there.
Fucking T-Rex or
I've seen,
something.
what does a T-Rex look like?
I
It
don't
looks
know,
like
big
a,
motherfucker.
It's got a little...
it's got like little arms. It's got like big feet. It walks like we think it walked like a bird. We think it like. Remember the movie
Dinosaurs
Jurassic
come
Park?
from birds. They're not reptiles. I learned
No,
so
vice
much.
versa.
I learned.
But
What?
birds come from dinosaurs.
Correct. Dinosaurs came first.
There were no birds before the dinosaurs?
No, they were all dinosaurs.
Okay, fine. I'll take your word for it.
Birds are descendants
believe
of
you. I
dinosaurs.
believe
Yeah.
you.
Did you
I
remember
believe
Jurassic
you.
Park? Did you watch Jurassic Park?
I read the book.
Remember
Just-
this?
As they
I don't remember.
evolved, they just got lighter and lighter.
Yeah, they
eventually,
had
developed
hollow
more
birds.
feathers. There's actually predictions that a lot of the newer diagrams of dinosaurs have feathers.
Yes, they do.
Yeah. The old ones don't, but some of the new sketches.
We
from
have gone
scientists-
totally off the rails in this
It's fascinating,
podcast.
though. It's fascinating. Anyways, yeah, you're right. We've gone off the rails.
We're gonna do that
let's-
again. Don't worry.
We'll for sure do it. But yes,
Not
go
about
look up
dinosaurs.
newer dinosaur sketches, and scientists, for the most part, agree that a lot of them actually had feathers.
They think velociraptors, the scary ones from Jurassic
Yes,
Park,
I remember
had-
those scary ones.
Had feathers.
Yeah, they were full of feathers.
They don't seem as scary with feathers. I don't know. Like,
She's
But,
like,
like,
you're
see,
like
like-
the character in the movie that says that doesn't sound very scary. It's like a 6-foot turkey. Right? And then Dr. Alan Grant.
bro, we were like, how old were we when this movie came
It was
out? You think I
1994.
remember
It
this
was
movie?
1994, I
Okay, we
remember
were
it.
But
born.
listen, we recently went, and we're totally off the rails, but we recently went to Lion Country Safari.
Yes.
And we had ostriches circling us.
No, that thing is
And
aggressive.
that was really aggressive.
They're
And it was
very
like
aggressive.
pecking at the
Do
car.
they not look like dinosaurs?
Yeah.
Do they not look like velociraptors?
They do. They do. Yeah, think about it, with the big head and the long thing, and they, yeah.
I mean, they were Jurassic
like
Park
that.
style
And
aggressive.
they were vicious.
Like,
They were vicious.
They were coming at us.
Yeah.
I was like,
they were
relax,
chewing on my
relax,
car
bird.
at some point. Yeah.
Yeah, I was very concerned for this Mercedes.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa.
But-
This stupid thing is going to dent
I
the
mean,
Mercedes.
luckily it's
You
a
know,
lease, so I was like, whatever.
You need a paint correction. Well, yeah, it's a lease. Who cares?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Leslie was very concerned. I'm like, it's a lease. Meh. All right, well.
Okay, back to what we were talking. I don't
Go,
know why
go.
you took me off.
I don't-
Why
Guardianship.
I took you off.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know
Sure.
what's going on here.
Sure.
We've lost
so,
control.
yes, there's guardianship for children.
Yes.
But now we're talking about what everybody else in the world
Oh
thinks
no,
is
so
good.
that
Free
right.
Britney.
So I was saying that everyone thinks of guardianship as like a kid, like you're the guardian of a child. But most of the examples you see in pop culture and the news that we've talked about are not.
Yeah.
So how does that even come about? Like same process, or
Kind of. I mean, it's always going
or
to
someone says like, I want to take care of you, Jose, because you're not well in the head, Jose Ignacio, and
Leon.
Well, if they tell you and you're not well in the head, you're not going to, ostensibly you're not going to.
But what happened? So walk me through this. I decide that Leslie should not be making decisions for herself anymore.
Yeah, and you have.
Because she shaved her head.
Right.
She crashed a car. She keeps marrying people, which is financially detrimental.
She finds love.
I'm
all
not
these
going to
things.
judge anyone on a rough week.
Yeah,
Like,
I
why-
agree.
When you did all that happen in the same week?
It was a lot at the same time.
I don't
She
remember
did
what
crash
year
her
she
car.
shaved her head. What year was it that she shaved her
It
head?
must have been like 2004.
I used to have a
2003.
meme that was like Britney with the shaved head, and it was like, I finally understand why Britney shaved her, like the
Yeah.
kind of day Britney had when she shaved her head or something. I'm destroying the meme. But it was one of those like, did you have a Britney kind of day, where we went off and shaved our head? Yeah.
So, all that to say, I'll never judge you
Oh,
on a rough week.
if I go shave my head.
But if you do whatever you want.
Do whatever you want.
This is America.
This is America.
For the
America.
Future, at least for now, you can do whatever you want.
Land
So,
of the free.
Yeah. Well, so we're not gonna.
No,
Okay,
go
So,
on.
Yeah.
no.
You need help. You're having a rough time, either because of age or infirmity, or you have some sort of, degenerative mental health disorder,
Yeah,
like
sure.
a dementia.
Sure,
like
sure.
now-
The Alzheimer's is well in effect. Yes.
Exactly. So
But
Elina
it
comes
could
up.
be something else, like uncontrolled schizophrenia, right? Or something
It
like
could be,
that.
but we can talk about those. Those are super specific.
Okay,
those
we'll
are
come back.
And
We'll come back.
Like most people will talk about those. It's the same idea behind them, but the thing is, getting someone who's in a schizoid break under guardianship,
Yeah.
and getting them treatment is markedly more difficult than like a grandmother or like a great aunt who just, you know, has gotten to the point where she can't cook for herself, she can't take care of herself, she can't do the activities of daily life.
We can come back to this because I'm sure there's all kinds of fun stuff to talk about.
So let's say you have a great aunt, like great aunt Leslie.
Sure.
Great aunt Leslie's already halfway to dementia, my friend. All right, I don't remember nothing. Like, yeah.
I know you didn't remember that dinosaurs.
I mean, no, I never learned that. Like,
you did.
Anyways,
someday. So, you let the court know. You file a petition. You say Leslie needs help. I think she can't take care of herself. She needs to get evaluated. And what the court in Florida does.
But there's no need to have a legal relationship, a blood relationship.
Person. You have to be. Actually, it could be the initial petition can be done by almost anybody. Right, I've had neighbors.
But then, what are you getting
out of it? That's what I was gonna say. If I'm like her next door neighbor, that's good enough.
Well, I've had a neighbor do it, and then they were trying to buy the house afterwards.
Coño! Yeah. Well, you just said, what are you gonna get out of it? I'm gonna sell your shit. I'm gonna sell your Louis Vuitton. I'm gonna sell your Rock and Roller Corolla. Like,
they were
it's worth a lot of money now.
It was a firm I worked for. They were not my clients. I want to be very clear.
For the record.
For the record, we're laying it thick.
We're laying the record thick here. Yes.
Not my clients. There's a firm I worked for. But anyway. That's a really good example. A neighbor called the cops and like filed a petition to determine incapacity, which is how you get the ball rolling here in Florida, letting the court know this person may be incapacitated. Why did she do that? Because the neighbor's son had died, and the mother had been cared for by the son, and she was like in the house with the son who had passed away for like a week.
Like the dead body?
The dead body. It was terrible.
That's actually really sad.
They took her, they stabilized her, they got her in better shape. The neighbor actually appointed guardian because this lady had nobody in her life. Right?
That's a good neighbor.
Like State Farm, right?
Yeah, that's a good neighbor, but then she wants your house.
She wanted to pay market value for it, and we're like, listen, you're the guardian, it won't work. And she didn't. She's like, you're right, that's a bad look. Good. The best clients are the ones that take our advice.
That's right. I mean, that was actually, I can't believe this happened in Miami.
Yes.
She said, I wanted to pay a market value. And she took your advice. Those two things never happen in these cases. Everybody's always trying to pull a fucking scam.
You know the issue? Is she wasn't from Miami originally.
Oh, you see? Ding, ding.
She moved from somewhere else.
Uh-huh.
So,
was she white?
Yes.
Oh, there you go. That's prong number 3.
Yeah. Exactly. And her husband was English. So it's like, you know.
So they were reasonable
honest people. Honest people living in Miami.
All that.
All right. So.
But then what the court does at that point is that when you file that petition to determine incapacity, they're going to kind of assign a committee. Sounds impressive, but it's not. They're going to assign 3 mental health professionals. One will usually be a doctor, like a psychiatrist. The rest will be like either mental health therapists or a psychologist, maybe a social worker. Those 3 people, right, will meet with the person who's in theory lacking capacity, and they'll say they'll do an evaluation, and then that evaluation gets filed with the court.
Are they 3 independent evaluations, or they do one together?
Sometimes the more the merrier, but most of the time they do it each on their own.
Yeah.
And it's like a 15-minute thing. They're not like really pulling out all the stops. You know what I mean?
No.
I'm picturing like a whole thing.
She's picturing
they put her in a boardroom and they just start like peppering the people with questions like who's the president? What's the date? What year is it? Like,
this is like the immigration test for citizenship.
What color is the flag?
Yeah. Which flag? Right?
Yeah. Who's your senator?
The big one is who's your president?
I was like Ross Layton, and Elina was like, she retired. Leslie. I'm like, what?
A while ago, yeah.
She was also never your senator. She was from the House of Representatives.
Yeah, she was actually a representative. Yeah.
I know this because I was an intern for her at one point.
Of course you were.
Yes, so now you see what I'm dealing with. This is what I'm dealing with here.
Yeah. Oh, funny Elina Ross Layton story. She got her finger stuck in something, so it cut off the tip of her finger.
Oh.
So.
Oh my God! Like that took a turn.
I know, but this is the funny part. If there could be a funny part, this is like a known story. Like everybody knows it. I'm not like breaking any confidences. She had like a prosthetic fingertip, so it would look normal in pictures and stuff like that, right? It was like that much. But she would keep it in a little like Tupperware thing in the fridge of the congressional office. So invariably, once every few months, someone would open it, to see what the food was,
and find a finger
and freak out.
Oh, God.
I love that.
Oh, God.
It was a great office to work in.
I love
see.
that.
I
I love that.
I can see the chemistry.
I
can
had
see
a
the
blast.
chemistry here.
I love that.
I had a blast.
Yes.
So.
All right, so we're coming back to guardianship.
Yes, coming back to guardianship. So
Wow.
it's actually quicker to do this than it has been to describe what's going on.
So these 3 mental health professionals assess the allegedly incapacitated person.
And then those reports are sent to the court,
Okay.
and they have a hearing. Usually all this happens within, statutorily, right? It's supposed to happen within 30 days. Usually I say 35 to 40 days because there's certain inefficiencies built into living in Miami and being in Miami-Dade County.
Sure.
Like, what happens if the allegedly incapacitated person absconds, right? Like, I know these people are coming to assess me. Fuck that shit. You know, Britney. I see what happened to Britney.
And now
I'm taking off.
And now you understand why it's so difficult to do it with schizophrenic, like schizophrenic patients, people with schizoaffective disorders, because they are already usually going through some sort of delusional episode. They have some sort of pathological issue with paranoia.
I would think like unhoused people as well, right?
Unhoused people, I mean,
are generally there's a high percentage of unhoused people who are.
I don't know who's trying to get guardianship over the homeless here.
Exactly. That's. I mean,
like,
I was about to say it would be great if someone was trying to actually.
Yeah, but no.
Well, but occasionally a family member, I would think, or something like that, is kind of what I was referring to.
Yeah, they'll get them picked up. There's ways to get around the absconding, the leaving, but one of the ways to get around a guardianship is just to leave the jurisdiction. Like we've had.
Oh, interesting.
I had a case. This was not my client. Once again, this is a firm I worked for where. My boss at the time was court appointed for someone who had a bunch of money and was from I think it was like Brazil or something or some South American country, but she had a lot of money. And she had come up here to visit the family here. One of the family members had filed a guardianship or filed a petition for incapacity. And my boss, since this person had money, was court appointed. Usually if you just file it for your tia abuela, they assign, basically a public defender. It's called regional counsel.
Okay.
Right? That will be the person that represents tia abuela. But if you're, Baron Bon Duchess the Third with billete, you get a private pay attorney from, one of these big firms here in the Gables.
Scrooge McDuck gets to buy his own counsel. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, you can pick your own, or you get it assigned to you. There's a wheel.
Oh.
That's
the
definitely
wheel.
not political at all.
The
Actually,
wheel.
I can say it's not political at all because we've revamped it.
Oh,
I was on the committee that revamped it.
Oh, you're a lot of committees. You're a lot of committees here.
The more committees the more committees you're on, the less work you have to do is what I've realized.
Oh, I understand.
So it's perfect. And this attorney put this lady on a plane. Like, hey, you know what? You know how they can't lock you down? Fly back to Brazil. Get the hell out of here.
Get out.
And guess what?
Take off.
Guess what? She did. They had to dismiss the guardianship.
Right.
And
you can never assess the person.
Exactly.
How
even if they go to another county, technically another county, you're screwed. Like once you leave the
this
county,
is a shit show.
You're screwed.
But there's no penalties for that at all. Like
in my case,
it's not like an ethics breach from the attorney's
you're
side.
Representing your client. You are representing the person.
You are explaining the procedure to your client, what your client does with that information after the fact.
I was like,
what am I supposed to hold her down?
Yeah.
No, but there's a difference between explaining the process and being like,
I know the judge.
I mean, you explained the process. Let me tell you what would happen if you left the county.
Yeah. I know the judge that was presiding over this case. She used to be the administrative judge of probate, who I worked for also. Awesome judge. She was very upset.
Very upset, I'm sure.
But she couldn't do anything because the law's clear. If you're out of the county, it's over.
And what if you're out of the county because you just moved across the county line? Do they pick up this case and transfer it, or
no,
you got to start all over?
Florida is not a member of the Uniform Adult Guardianship Act. Like, they're not one of the states that signed on to it, which means everything in Florida is 57 fucking times harder to do when it comes to guardianship. So
precisely 57.
It's impossible. Everything's so hard to do. So like we'll have people calling. We have a lot of people that call us from out of state. Like, hey, I need to transfer a guardianship to Florida, or I need to transfer a guardianship out of Florida because we've moved and I want to bring my mom with me now.
Normal people move. Yeah.
If you're like in, you're gonna laugh when I say this, but like if you're in Wyoming and you're probably gonna say, why would you be in Wyoming? I did it for you. Like, if you live in Wyoming. And then you want to move to, like, Indiana. Why would you want to move there? I did it for you. It's like you file one form and it transfers, right? It's very straightforward.
Yeah.
If you're in Florida and you want to go anywhere else, it's like you got to open the guardianship over there. You got to then file a petition over here. Then you got to get it approved over here. Then you got to send all these exemplified copies, which are certified copies, got the little red stamp on them.
Like physical copies.
Exemplified copies have like a beautiful like metallic sticker.
Oh yeah, the little sticker thing and like the stamp.
Sealed.
Yeah.
Like the raised sticker. Seal.
Those get sent over there. It approves. Then you have to get the transfer.
Oh, you live like in my world where we have like
this
raised
is
seal
fucking
people
wild.
charge too much for.
Yeah, it's fucking wild.
It takes
I hear
10
that.
more
I hear
steps
that. Yeah.
Than it should, and then even then it's like, well, we actually don't recognize this. Like I've had that happen. I was transferring one from Maryland to Florida, and at the end of it, it was like, you did everything. We actually don't recognize any of this authority, so you're just gonna have to open a guardianship here. Like start from scratch here.
Let's start again.
It's terrible. So,
but is that only Florida? Are there other states that are like this?
Usually it's the bigger states, the states with more money. I actually don't know about Texas.
The states with more money that are less
where the people have money. Like so, like we don't. You do a lot of trust work. We're not part of the Uniform Trust Code, right? We have our own trust code.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's bonkers.
But you're saying the states with more money.
They
have their own shit show going on, and they don't care to
like others
create uniformity with the rest of the union.
Right.
Exactly. So it's like California's got its own thing going on. They're big on conservatorships, which a California conservatorship is basically the equivalent of just a Florida guardianship, right? New York has its own code. Mm-hmm. I think Texas has its own code, but like the Carolinas super easy to deal with. Like Mid-Atlantic super easy to deal with.
There's like reciprocity amongst these other little states.
Yeah, little states.
Little states.
These states that have like more GDP than many, like most of the countries in the world. But yeah, little states.
Yes.
So,
is it only mental health issues and age that you really see people try to go? Like, are there other reasons people do guardianships or conservatorships in other states?
Well, I feel like la gente tratan de inventar.
Yeah, I had a really good one.
Well, I'm just curious. Like, what if Leslie was...
I was going to say...
a drunk. Or she had a physical but not mental disability. Like, things like that.
You try to get a guardianship on my ass because I got a broken leg? Relax.
Not a broken leg, but I'm thinking, like, what if you were, like, paraplegic? Like, you legit need some help. Like, I'm just curious how far this goes, is I guess what I'm asking.
Limited guardianships, right, that only hit on just the personal side, like being able... But even then, if you have your full capacity, if you have, like, your wits about you, you're just physically unable to do things... A lot of times there's other things you can do, right?
Right.
For substance abuse specifically, there's a process known as a Marchman Act, which is where you file, like, a Marchman Act also, like, a whole thing, its own version of black magic,
yes.
right? But Marchman Act, you file a petition, the cops will literally go pick you up where you are, take you to an evaluation center and a treatment center, and then you get to dry out there, right? Here's the rub. Everywhere in Florida, you can pick, or most places in Florida, I should say, I don't want to say everywhere, you can pick where you can pick where they send the person. So you can say, hey, I'm petitioning for my brother. He's an alcoholic. He's not an alcoholic.
He drinks a lot, but he's not an alcoholic. I've picked out the center that I want him sent to.
Say my brother. This is purely hypothetical.
Purely hypothetical, allegedly.
Allegedly.
He drinks a lot, but he's not an alcoholic. So
okay.
So tell us about why you got into this kind of law.
Anyway, so you say, hey, I want him sent to this facility, and they'll keep him there. They'll dry them out, and then if it's a situation where it's like, a lot of times there's overlap where you have this is where you can do the schizophrenia stuff. You have a schizophrenic who's also doing drugs, like even if it's just marijuana. You drink it, you smoke it.
It's very common, apparently.
Yeah, you smoke in a pot with schizoaffective disorder, you'll get marijuana-induced psychosis.
Oh, wow.
So part of it will be drying you out from the pot, the other part will be getting you treatment, like it's a whole thing. The reason I say most places in Florida is because the one county where you can't do that is Miami-Dade County.
Which is where we're at.
Exactly.
Ah,
that's where,
fun.
Yeah, for the record, we're taping this in Miami-Dade County. So, here... You do a Marchman Act, the cops will go pick you up, everything's the same, but they take you to one place. They take you to Jackson South.
I was like, El Downtown.
No, Jackson Health Services, like down south, like off of like US 1 and like
yeah.
where you got your vaccine. You got your vaccine down there for COVID, and then they'll evaluate you and then say, yeah, You got a lot of issues.
It's fucked up.
Bye. They'll just put you on the street.
Thanks.
Like, literally,
Peace.
like, here's the exit.
You can leave now.
Go get treated. So it's
Go get treated somewhere else.
So it's terrible. And I have people that have friends that do this type of work. I think you know them too. Do you know Richard Casey and Craig Robinson by any chance?
No.
They're in HTM. I know we're all HTMers here, right? Either by choice.
And where are they?
They are in West Palm Beach.
Oh,
they
shit.
are. They only. I mean, they do guardianship.
They
stuff
only
as
do
well,
this crazy
but they
stuff.
only do the crazy Marchman stuff.
We should have one of them on the podcast.
You should. And
Are they going to drive all the way? You know, this is yeah.
yeah.
Anyways, let's
will do it. Yeah.
We'll come back. Let's focus. Craig,
Focus.
Richard. What's Richard's last name?
Richard Casey. He goes by Dick Casey.
Thank you.
Which is weird.
That's nice.
Like he's like, yeah, don't call me Rick. You know.
Okay. All right.
I was as an example. I wasn't calling you Rick.
And this happens in what court too?
It's in the criminal court.
If that's in the other fucking part of this crazy fucking thing, which is
Yeah.
you're not in front of guardianship court anymore. Like you're in criminal court now.
Yeah, for Marchman Act, you're in criminal court. You're in front of
criminal
sometimes
court.
a mental health
Yeah.
magistrate.
Yep.
But you are in the Gerstein
And
building.
the mental health magistrates are trained to deal with this, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, yes.
I don't know what this.
There was we had a magistrate.
It's
here.
like that manual for Boeing. Like I'm kidding. I'm kidding. That's
No.
no.
You don't want to talk about
No.
Boeing here.
No.
Yeah, I'm sure you already talked about it with somebody else, but you don't want to
No,
talk
no.
about the Boeing
Focus,
stuff.
focus. All right. So
No.
So they are
There
trained.
There is some training.
There is some training
There's some
to
training.
deal with.
There's some training.
And I'm being
There is.
serious. Like it's.
There are, I mean...
I can't
But,
imagine that
how
most.
long can you hold them?
So, I have seen Marchman Acts, not personally, like I've had other people have handled them, and I've handled the guardianship side of things that have been, like, it's as long as you need to dry out, basically. And
Could
then
be
if you-
years.
If you have, not years, I've seen months,
Like
right?
6 months.
Yeah, and I've seen what they do is that at the same time that the Marchman Thing Act is kind of developing, they'll go get an emergency temporary guardianship, which is very similar to what happened to Britney, right? Where they got
That's-
an emergency temporary
yeah.
guardianship.
That somehow became permanent.
That
but-
somehow lasted a long time.
Britney Spears, for the record. So what happens at that point is that you get extraordinary relief. Basically, you ask the court, we need to keep this person in here involuntarily to get them treated not only for their mental health stuff, but also for their substance abuse stuff. And it's the interplay between it is like fascinating. It's a shit show in Miami-Dade County, but everywhere else it works great. Like people actually get what they need.
Are these like parallel proceedings?
Sometimes.
Interesting.
Not necessarily, but the way to do it, the most efficient way to do it is to have them running at the same time.
Yeah.
I can't. I hate to take this the other way, but I hear this and that's wonderful. But I'm also hearing a system that's probably ripe for abuse.
Yeah.
I mean, am I wrong?
Yeah, I mean, it is like there's
That's a lot of power.
just jump on. I mean, here's a fun exercise for everybody, including the audience at home. Jump on. I know you're listening, all 7 of you. Jump on the Miami New Times and just search guardianship, like in the search bar. And every 3 years they'll do like an expose, right?
Yeah.
Or search WLRN, NPR.
NPR, yeah. Local
Search-
NPR in Miami.
Yeah. Search guardianship, and then it's legit every 3 years it's an expose of all these people behaving badly and all these attorneys that are corrupt and everything. And it's all obviously you do the digging. It's like the same 2 organizations calling all these people corrupt, and it's organizations founded by people who were found to be exploiting their parents, and they're very upset about it, and now they are guardianship advocates. Not to be guardian advocates, something else. These are people
I was like
guardianship advocacy.
That's to be confused
people.
with.
Yeah, and they're all like, we need to clean up the system. My sister in Christ, you are the reason that the system is the way it is because
My sister in Christ.
because of what you've done and what you did to your parents, right? And you have a confidentiality clause on the settlement agreement that you signed back in 2000 whatever, and you're breaking it. So, but
Excellent.
yes, but there's still a lot. Recently there was a really crazy story that came out down here, and I don't know if you saw it. It was a WLRN, so the NPR local affiliate, did an investigation, and it was basically, hey, let's say you need help, you need a guardian, or the both of you, right? And the 2 of you aren't allowed to be each other's guardian, but you also don't have any money. Who's going to be your guardian? It's not going to be a professional guardian. It's going to be a public guardian, someone who basically public guardian down here would be Guardianship Program of Dade County. They have thousands of people that they're the guardians for.
Right.
Right?
Oh God.
It's the best we can do with the funding that we don't get, right? Here in the state of Florida, but regardless. What came out was that the properties that were owned by a lot of these people that had no family and didn't really have any funds outside of, or didn't have any property, personal property, money, whatever you want to call it, outside of the houses that they lived in, these houses were being sold for like 10%, 20% of what they were worth.
Wow.
To like, I was going to say random, to the same group of people, to the same organization, to the same little company who would then take these properties and sell them to somebody else at that point, and they would, they would either wholesale it, so they held it for 2 days and sold it for $20,000 extra, so you're making a quick $20,000, or they would rehab them, quote unquote, and then sell them for hundreds of thousands of dollars more, right? That was an investigation that recently came to light, and
this is like the same old story.
Yeah,
I mean,
this happens every 10 years.
This happens all the time.
Yeah.
That there's a story coming out.
Yeah. So I mean,
do you want something to drink?
That is an ugly thermos for the record.
I have.
Do I have something to drink? No, I know what you're gonna.
I have a Celsius right here for you.
We need to be sponsored by these people. Somebody needs to sponsor us.
Well, then if
we need a Red Bull. Okay, what do you prefer? Who should sponsor us? Red Bull or Celsius?
Hold on. If you'd like to be sponsored by these people, they should stop listening. So,
well, yo, there goes my sponsorship.
The issue with Celsius is
what's the issue?
It's super, like, it's a lot. So
it's a lot.
It only has about 200. I just learned about this.
Okay, look, I got a Diet Coke here. What are we looking for?
It only has about 200 milligrams of caffeine. That's fine. That's about 2 cups of coffee.
That's not bad at all.
That's not bad. I was going to say, what kind of pussy?
Like, here's the thing. There's two.
Pussies are very strong.
So okay, hold on. Yeah, that's a very.
This only has 45 grams. You're right.
I really never understood why we use pussy to say things are weak when pussies are stretched, torn, and they recover.
Whoa.
It should be ball sacks. Okay, ball sacks are weak.
All right.
This turned into a reinterpretation of the vagina.
I'm sorry.
Go on.
Go on. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Go on. Okay, so what's wrong with the 200 grams of caffeine?
When you drink caffeine, it dumps it dumps adrenaline, and then there's two chemicals that absorb your adrenaline to keep you from going like out of fucking control with like freaking out, right? Like, so you get that bump in like energy, and then eventually it gets like metabolized and it gets out of your system. There's two extra chemicals in this Celsius stuff that block the reuptake of that adrenaline. So you just have this free adrenaline bumping through your body, like unperturbed, destroying everything it touches, making you feel like you're going fucking crazy for like.
Well, why doesn't it do all that to me?
I don't because
I'm already desensitized to.
Apparently, you drink
like
too
it
much
doesn't
of
do shit.
When I met you, you were basically living at a coffee shop. I'm sure that had something to do with it. She didn't have an office. She had an office space.
It says here it's essential to live fit.
What?
It's essential
to live fit.
To live fit.
They're telling you.
You are just a hater.
They're telling you it's essential to be fit when you drink this, because if not, it's gonna fucking murder you.
It's gonna fucking kill you.
Like,
you should drink it prior to fitness activities to help energize you.
So does Red Bull do this or not?
No.
Oh, so you're an advocate for Red Bull?
No, I'm not.
Okay, Red Bull, call me. I need sponsorship.
All right.
I know why we're doing the straw man thing. I don't care one way or the other. I won't drink that because it's gonna fuck you up.
Okay, so Leslie, you drink the Celsius.
Yeah,
here you go.
I mean,
it's all yours.
You know, it's a money idea.
It's also peach flavored.
It's mango peach flavored. Okay, and green tea.
I'm sure it's delicious. I'm sure it's
not
delicious.
Like a natural color. Look at her. Oh.
It doesn't taste very good. But because it's not. I was expecting something carbonated like Red Bull, and it's not carbonated. It's tea.
Okay.
Well, all right.
I think you should have some of that one.
We'll talk in a few.
Okay,
reptiles.
Keep it down, reptiles.
Well, when you go to the reptile conference.
You're always on these committees and boards and white papers and reptile conference.
Are there animals at the reptile conference?
No.
Some people bring their dogs.
I was going to say, I really feel like at the reptile conference, y'all should get reptiles. Like, have a guy walk.
There's no lizards at the reptile conference.
Dudes walking around with snakes. Like when you go to the zoo, you know, like I'll pet your lizard.
I'm going to say something very problematic.
Really?
It's like the dorkiest conference. Because imagine like,
of course it is.
You know, Leslie, you are, you're dressed nice. You have like a you're fashion forward. You dress nice. You're like
fashion forward.
You have like a like a social media presence. Like you're out there about marketing yourself.
Sure.
Right? How would you describe most of the people that do primarily?
Like I
trust
said,
work?
dinosaurs.
Exactly.
That is. I didn't realize the reptile snakes. Like I was like, they're dinosaurs. Most people in our area of law have been doing it for a very, very long time.
Yes.
There's got to be a younger population kicking in, though.
There is, but...
And those people are great, but for the most part, it's a very dorky conference.
I mean, right? I told you, a couple of years ago, I had two, one, I don't want to call him an opposing counsel because he was just representing spouse in the negotiations, the estate plan or whatever. But he croaked on us, and his name was Barney. So you can already, assess what his age was. When's the last time that was an acceptable name? And then in one of our probates, we were told we had to go mediate, and this guy just disappeared on us. And lo and behold, he didn't disappear. He croaked, like he died, and for months.
That's a win.
We couldn't... Then inventory attorney shows up and doesn't know shit about the case. Y la pachanga empezó otra vez, right? So it was, in 1 year, I have two estate planning attorneys, estate and probate attorneys, just die. I mean, these are the at bellsouth.net, at AOL,
at Yahoo.
I mean, they're easy to spot. Is
U-mail still?
No.
U-mail's gone?
I haven't heard that one in a while. What is that, like Uverse? Is that like ATT?
It was like Y-O-U-mail.
I was actually really surprised, too, because a lot of these, dinosaurs
it was like Hotmail time.
Don't have E&O or anything like that, right? They're dinosaurs. They're it. They're going to die before anything happens, or anybody actually comes to a judgment against them.
My mom still has an AOL email.
We're not going to... Yeah, but is your mom, like, a fully practicing...
A fucking lawyer? Like, with an office?
Mom, you should really get rid of the AOL
You should really get a Gmail.
Gmail. No. Well, okay, Gmail, fine, but, if you're a professional, you should not be on Gmail.
No, you should not be on any of that.
AOL. You should have a real domain.
That is correct.
Office 365.
At JoseIgnacioLeon.com.
No, mine was Jose Leon Law.
There you go.
.com.
Oh, no Ignacio?
No, because I was too long already. That
you
was
betrayed yourself.
My old one.
You betrayed yourself.
Yeah, well, you know what? You got to market. It's okay.
Excellent.
Oh, man.
Excellent.
So is this Marchman Act?
The Taskmaster back here.
Sorry, I'm going back. So the Marchman Act is, we're going back. I want to go back. So the Marchman Act is for people who have drug, alcohol, substance abuse. Thank you.
Yeah.
Baker Act is in Florida for people who
it's for
have mental health issues.
Yeah, just people going through a crisis.
I was about to say, because I've seen it, for example, for people who try to commit suicide, for example.
Danger to yourself or others.
Mm-hmm. So what if... Ooh, that's interesting. So who determines if you're a danger for others?
Well, our impeccably trained and well-funded police officers here in Miami-Dade County are usually the ones that determine...
when they show up to the house and you're screaming, "I'm gonna stab the fuck out of you," or whatever. Then there's gonna be some testimony as to how we know you're.
Those are good, but then you have situations, and I would always err on the side of caution anyway. It's better to get people the help they need. But you also have situations where it's hey, this person was saying they were gonna kill me. Where are they? They're in the room. They walk in. They're calm, not really going through anything. Okay, they might or might not take that person to a mental health facility. And usually down here, you go to Jackson South, Jackson mental health. Whatever. You go to Larkin, which I don't know if anybody here knows Larkin.
I do.
I used to work there.
Yep.
I'll tell you some stories.
Doing what?
I was an endoscopy tech.
You've had a lot of jobs, huh?
I have. I've always, I'm such.
He has mentioned at least 5 different jobs on this podcast.
He has a lot of talent, a lot of different talents.
Hardworking, never quit attitude, never say no attitude. And now I just want
to retire. This is the fucking core values over here.
Yeah.
But commitment, perseverance, loyalty. What the fuck?
Except it's not never quit because he's had 100 jobs. So he has to have quit at some point.
Fired at any of these jobs.
Wow.
You're being very
that would be awesome. I
was being kind.
I never quit.
I've never quit a job. I just stopped showing up. That's what I did. Technically, I still work for Winn-Dixie.
Oh, wow. All right, anyways. But, so Baker acted.
Yeah, so Baker Act will take you there. Usually it's they want to evaluate you, right? They want to keep you there The hard and fast rule is 72 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's less. I've seen it be less if everybody's
It
on
really
board.
depends on occupancy. No, I'm kidding.
Well, it really depends on
capacity.
You're joking, but it depends on occupancy, like their census for how many.
Like
people
we
are
need
there.
that bed. You got to move this
well,
along.
I imagine they triage who's in worse condition, who's
Exactly.
in better condition.
It also depends on what facility you go to. Are you going to a publicly funded facility?
Right.
Are you going to a private facility?
Because you ain't getting out of the private one.
It's very hard.
Yeah.
This
is just like jail.
It is.
And this is exactly what I tell my
This is like
clients
jail.
Well, it's like-
when they go to detention for immigration. If you go to the private one, you're going to be there a long
Is the-
time.
the one
If
in-
you go to the public one, they want you the fuck out because you're costing them money.
The one in Miramar or Broward,
Broward.
BTC, that one's private,
BTC,
right?
that's correct.
You ain't getting out of there.
Correct.
But the one in Chrome,
And yeah,
we'll
you got to
find
50
you again.
Yeah.
depends.
Yeah.
Did,
fine.
did
Yeah.
FIU take your case? Get out of here.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Did FIU take your case?
We'll see you in 6
Yeah.
years for your asylum
No,
interview.
that's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, I digress.
But no, like they'll usually 3 days. Hard and fast rule. I have seen people kept in a Baker Acted state, right, in a facility for up to 3 weeks. Right?
Oh wow, that's a long
we have
time.
we have a case right now that's in Central Florida somewhere. Not to get too specific about it, but they've been in there close to a month, right?
Oh, wow.
So it happens that where they do keep you there longer because they need to stabilize you.
And I assume that's because 3 days wasn't enough too.
Because 3 days wasn't enough, and it's crazy to be like, hey, 3 days is enough. Yeah, I hear the sirens.
I was like, there's a siren disturbing our podcast.
Who are they
And-
here for?
I don't know. They're here for Leslie.
Did you break your leg again?
We're like on the 8th floor. That's pretty loud siren.
So listen. So why wouldn't a power of attorney solve the problem?
It would in a lot of cases. So I'm joined here at this podcast by a very illustrious estate planner herself. The issue,
But we're not asking her questions today. We're asking you
but
questions.
I mean, I feel like you understand the utility, but also the power. Not to get too cliche or punny about a power of attorney. Power of attorneys are awesome. You literally like I could say, hey, I want to give a power of attorney to you. It's going to be a durable power of attorney, so it's going to survive a finding of incapacity. So I can be incapacitated and it's still going to be in effect. I'm going to give it to you, Elina. You're going to be able to make my property decisions. You're going to be able to go to the bank. You're going to be able to change my, if I had initialed on all the superpowers.
Pay your
right?
bills, cancel cable because you're too out of your mind to do it anyways.
The thing is, you can do that whether or not I'm out of my mind or not. That's why they're super powerful, and that's why...
And super dangerous.
Exactly.
And super
With
dangerous.
great power
Yes.
comes great...
responsibility.
There you go.
Wow.
Healthcare surrogate, which
But how
like,
is that any different from a guardianship?
Well, because you can't get a guardianship unless you get evaluated.
Okay, so we're
but
talking
there's
about...
two different things here. Hold on.
We-
Because one thing is, in the guardianship, maybe I'm not the one saying I want a guardianship. Somebody else is saying they want to get a guardianship over.
Right, that's what I was going to say. So
Exactly.
the only difference I hear is who's willing or not willing to go along with this, no?
Kind of. I mean,
Well,
with
it's
the-
do I have the capacity? Because if you don't have capacity, you have the
can't do
capacity
it.
to give somebody else a power of
Yeah,
attorney.
but for example, right, when older people, assuming they trust their kids, their family, whatever, like...
First mistake. No, I'm kidding. For legal purposes.
No, I'm being real. For example, we've had lots of elderly people in our family grow old and pass that, my family, my mom, my godmother have taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
And quite often we would get a power of attorney. They were mentally fine.
Yeah.
But it was, there comes a certain point where
They're not.
they have no idea about email. They don't know,
Exactly.
how to deal with Medicare, Medicaid, whatever it is. They don't know, there comes a certain point where the mind starts to...
It's a really powerful tool, and it's
Yeah.
a really useful tool, and you could use it to avoid guardianship. Use it in conjunction with something called a healthcare surrogate,
Right.
which is the
Yeah.
same thing, but for healthcare decisions. And that
Yeah.
one, you do need to be incapacitated.
In your right mind, yeah.
You do have to be out of it for that one to have effect.
To kick in, you're saying. But you have
Yeah.
to create it while you're in your right mind.
Exactly. And using those two documents, you avoid guardianship. If you don't have, if you're like, I don't want to get estate planning done, I'm not going to worry about it. I hate thinking about my future. Fuck my family, right? That's fine. But
Wow.
But if I want to leave my family in a terrible, I want to have them pay an attorney like $15,000 to transfer my homestead or whatever. Who cares? That's fine.
Yep.
If you're going to have one set of estate planning documents, have a durable power of attorney and a healthcare surrogate because you're going to avoid guardianship. It's worth it. Like, avoid guardianship and avoid an issue where, God, you zonk yourself on the head getting out of the shower and like someone needs to make a decision to like drain your skull from a hematoma.
Yeah,
You
man.
go get a guardianship, or your daughter that you said could do this 3 years ago can go and say, yes, please drill holes into her head to let the blood out. It's like a no-brainer. Even if you hate your family, well, maybe not if you hate your family, but even if you don't care to do any estate planning, do that at least. Like, it's a simple form.
The medical surrogacy, you're saying.
Healthcare surrogate and durable power of attorney, even though, as you said, it's a very powerful
But the durable
form.
power, yeah, that's a whole other...
But the alternative is a guardianship. So it's kind of like, do I want to...
And it's a rough alternative, man. It
do I want
goes
to fall out
from...
of a building or do I want to get hit by a
Right,
car?
right.
Like,
I mean, it goes from, do I...
Yeah, I mean, I would assume most people have this, like, created, and then it's just in a filing cabinet somewhere for the day that it's needed, right?
sometimes
Assuming
we
trust.
hope.
Assuming trust is
Yeah.
what I'm
Hope
saying.
somebody's
what
created
we
it.
tell... Yeah, exactly. What we tell people is like...
Well,
even-
like, we have them, right? My significant other and I, my husband, is not legally my husband. We're not actually legally married. And so we created documents so that we
Are
could
you, like,
make-
religiously married? No, I'm very, like...
No.
Are you, like...
And this is not like, you know, a social security scam where she
No,
has
no,
children
I know
and
they
she
know each
doesn't
other. No.
and she doesn't want his income. Like, no, this
No,
is
no.
all the up and up.
I know you guys have been together forever. I
Yeah,
didn't
we've
think-
been together for a long time. We adopted the titles. We bought each other rings, so everybody knows us as husband and wife. But legally speaking, I don't talk about it very often, but actually legally speaking, we're not married. And so at some point, we realized, actually it was during COVID, when he said to me one night, we were sitting on the couch, and he's like, if this happens to me, do not ever let blah, 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 blah happen to me. And I looked at him, I was like, oh no, your mama's making those decisions.
Your mom.
You gotta write that down. You gotta write that down.
And so shortly thereafter, Leslie created all of our documents. So we do have these documents. But for the most part, they're just in an envelope in my office somewhere. And he knows where they are, and I know where they are. And in the unlikely event that one of us would ever need them, like, we have them there, you know, and you...
No, for sure. Listen, it's a. Everyone should do it. The hack that I've done over the years is, as you know, with wills and trusts, they gotta be originals if you're gonna use them.
Yeah.
With those other types of advanced directives is what they're called usually.
Yeah, advanced directives.
They don't need to be originals. They can be
No.
copies,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So what I tell people is like, hey, give your family everything except the durable power of attorney. If they need it, they'll
Yeah.
reach out to me and I'll send them a copy.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you're in the hospital or something. Just give me a list of people that I can send it to, and if it comes up, I will send them a copy, right? Just to keep it out of their
That's
hands.
a very
unless they
safe
need
way
it.
of doing it. So I know nothing about this kind of law, but as a result of being the family attorney, I am the
course,
holder
yeah.
of all of these
There
documents
you
in my family. And so as older people in my family would pass or get close to passing, I was the one that always had to produce these documents for the hospital and for medical decisions and et cetera, et
I mean,
cetera.
it's good. I mean, it's good to have someone trustworthy, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
So you don't get your
Right.
shit
So
robbed.
you don't
Your
get
stuff
fucked.
stolen,
You don't get
basically.
fucking robbed.
So the neighbor doesn't rob your ass.
This neighbor, I feel like we're really
100%.
dragging this neighbor,
The poor
in my
neighbor.
story under the bus. She's
Bro,
a
but the neighbor's the only
wonderful
honest
woman.
person I've heard about in a long
No,
time.
we're
I know.
not dragging
I love
her.
that
On the
neighbor.
contrary,
No,
she
we're
was
joking about the
lovely.
neighbor. The one neighbor experience I've had. Well, I had another neighbor experience.
Oh.
This is a good one. So this is actually a good one. Not my case either. It was one that I was working as an associate at this firm, and the neighbor was just like, "Hey, like he was helping this lady out. She was like one of these like old school heiresses to like some sort of fortune, like a cruise ship company fortune.
Coño.
Sweet lady." Fucking crazy, right? And I don't mean that like from a mental health standpoint. I mean she's una loca, right? She also happened to be incapacitated. But she's a crazy lady. She would dress up like she was going out to like a ball every day.
Oh.
Very nice lady.
That seems like a nice way to live.
She was stroking checks to the neighbor.
Oh.
Like, and we're coming in because
Like just for love.
this is how rich the lady was. The bank that was her investment
Was worried about it.
was the one that was like, we're filing a petition to determine incapacity because we're seeing a lot of money coming out that we're not like. We think there's something.
We
going
think
on
it's some
here.
sketchy shit going on.
They tried to be the guardians, and they had trust. They had trust powers. This was back when BB&T was around,
Uh-huh.
so they could have acted. What was that? They could have acted. What's going on? Everything okay?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
We're good.
All right. Sorry, I saw faces.
Somebody's knocking on our window.
It might have been a bird.
Considering we're on the 8th floor, it's a little
That's
scary.
very scary.
Like,
Yeah.
sorry, that was random. Go
No,
on.
no. But the bank tried to be the guardian, and they could have been, but they end up becoming the guardian. It was like a professional guardian was appointed.
Uh-huh.
Right. And then like 2 days after the professional guardian was appointed, this lady strokes a check to the neighbor that had been like the one helping out for like $400,000.
Ooh.
And she's like, "Thank you for all the." It was like on the bottom it said, "Thank you for all the help," but she was already under guardianship,
Right.
So we had to kind of like,
That gets clawed back.
yeah, hey, go ahead and bring us the check.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's frozen. The accounts are frozen, so just bring us the check and no one's going to get
Do the accounts get frozen the moment the guardianship is open?
You have to ask for it.
Okay.
You have to like get like a temporary injunction basically, and you can do that without having a guardianship. In the lead up to a guardianship too, there's it came out a few years ago. I want to say it was it just pre-COVID or during COVID?
I feel like it was just pre-COVID.
It was like 2019, right?
Yeah.
There was an injunction for vulnerable adults, a vulnerable adult injunction that you can do, and you can freeze accounts, you can get stuff.
Because in 45 days, that shit's gone.
Exactly.
Yeah,
the Nigerian prince took it all by then.
This is like 5 days.
You have to prove this person's incapacitated, right?
No. For the vulnerable person injunction, you just need to prove that they are a vulnerable person, and that stuff is defined in the statute. It's like anyone over the age of, I think it's like really low, it's like 55.
I know. It's not old at all.
So like tomorrow I could freeze somebody's
But
account?
I mean, it's not going to last very long, right? I mean, yes, it's kind of extreme to freeze, your bank account when you're like, fuck you, I'm fine, you know, whatever. But it's not going to stay frozen for very long. You have to promptly start proving all the things you need to prove.
Exactly. This is just like hey, we're, I don't know. It's a verified petition, so you're under oath.
This is like Liz Pendens. This is our equivalent of Liz Pendens.
Exactly.
Like, we got to lien this fucking property so it doesn't get sold while we're going to go do what we need to do.
Does this count weapons as well? Like, how do you get weapons taken away from someone?
So
Can we talk about that?
What? Oh, this sounds like it's going to go down. Like, what weapons? Like, from an incapacitated person?
Well, let's say that hypothetically someone owns a gun and then they become, like, let's say they have dementia or Alzheimer's or whatever. As they slowly have more and more issues just due to a medical condition and they're no longer in capacity, like some bad shit could happen and you start worrying, right? And so my question is, how do you get weapons
with the guardianship or without the guardianship?
Well, I don't know. What's the answer? Like, can I just call the police? Like, what? That's crazy. What are you going to do?
You can. There's like red flag laws now that are in place that are meant to, like, if someone's having mental health issues and stuff like that, the police are supposed to show up and, I guess, like, evaluate what's going on and, if possible, if necessary, remove the firearms from the premises.
But that would be very hard to prove if it was like the beginning of Alzheimer's, you know?
Like, you know what? It gets done all the time. And
yeah.
Well, I mean, not just Alzheimer's. I'm thinking more on the schizophrenic mental health.
Sure, but I'm not talking about the police arrive and someone's going through a full psychotic break. I mean, that's pretty obvious, right? You take the damn guns. I'm talking about like when, especially with older people, there's great days, there's bad days, right? I mean,
and on the bad days, they're about to shoot somebody.
On the guardianship side,
but
the orders that get issued in Miami-Dade County say that the person's not allowed to possess a weapon, and that's a strictly Miami-Dade County order. Like,
interesting.
All the other counties
standard language.
Yeah, down here, all the other counties don't say anything about firearms. I included them once in one I had in Broward County, and the judge looked at me like I was fucking crazy. He was like, "Why are we worried about this person having firearms?" I'm like, because they might have firearms. I'm like, it's standard language in Miami, like, just in case. We have a lot of gun owners down here in South Florida.
Yeah.
But in Miami, it's a bigger issue. So they get taken away.
Because it's a city or something? Or what? Just because?
I think there's as a Cuban, I would say it's because there's a lot of Cubans. And Cubans love their guns.
Well, they like their freedom.
They like their flavor of freedom. That's true.
Yes, I agree.
So I have theories about that. Another podcast. They will you can literally have someone's guns taken away. I'm like not huge on that unless they're actually under guardianship. If I am like a second amendment
for sure the guardian's going to take your shit, all right? Guardian's not going to let you roll around with your fucking guns.
Depends on the gun, because one of the things that happens is down here you also have a lot of people that have like Title II firearms, like short-barreled rifles, fully automatic stuff that has like extra stuff you have to ask the government permission for to have.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And that has to get treated super specifically because like, let's say someone dies. This is one that's easy to talk about because someone dies owning these guns. They don't have a trust. It's just in their individual name. The personal representative has to take possession of those guns. They cannot give it to a gun shop to hold. They cannot give it to an attorney to hold.
Sure.
The PR has to hold those guns, which is like the executor. I'm sure you guys have covered this before. The only way you can transfer it is asking the government for permission again. Like, it's called a Form 5 under the ATF. With guardianship, it's the same thing. The guardianship has to hold those guns. The guardian himself can't get You might
I feel like I'm learning so much. So what do I have to do with these guns? We'll talk off the podcast.
Yeah.
What are you doing with all these guns? What guns do you have?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
We'll talk afterwards.
Alina's like fucking
Remember, there's regular
buckle
guns.
down and
No, I think this is fascinating because you never know when you clean up what you're gonna find, frankly, and
Yeah.
you know, it's interesting.
What do you mean when you clean up what you're gonna find? Whose
Like
house are
when
you
you have
cleaning that
elderly
you're gonna find
people.
guns?
You'd be surprised.
No, anybody. Like when you
No,
have
but if the
elderly
elderly-
family members.
But if they
you know?
passed away, we're not worried about this guardianship.
Well, but
gun
no,
problem.
we're not worried about the guardianship. But he just said really interesting things about transferring ownership with forms.
Depends
Yeah,
on the,
yeah, yeah.
It depends on the guns.
It depends on the type of gun.
If they're Title II firearms, you got to use a certain type of form. If they're regular firearms,
That's why
it's
these
just-
gun trusts exist, right?
Right,
That's
right,
why
I got you.
Specifically. Right.
Well, and to make it easier to own them,
Right.
specifically, which is a loophole that I'm glad they closed. But I'm sorry, I am like an enthusiast.
Comunista. No.
I own a bunch of these guns. I think they should not be like. A lot of these guns are like very, they're hardcore. Like,
Sure.
Yes. Yes, they are.
it's fine. But I'm just saying, I'm glad they closed that.
His
loophole.
Cuban card's about to get like revoked.
That's
you know,
fine.
like the seven
No,
people
but
listening to this
hear what he's
podcast
saying.
are all upset.
I hear what he's saying.
I
I'm
know
very
more-
middle.
The people that are going to revoke my Cuban card don't know as much about Cuban history as I do. So
Apparently,
first of all-
about dinosaurs and
Exactly.
many, many things.
First of all, second of
Yeah.
all, these are firearms that have a higher level of scrutiny attached to them. And then for a while, you can just get a trust and be like, hey, yeah, I've had like domestic violence. I'm a fucking sketchball. I'm doing all sorts of shit. I'm going to own it under a trust, and you're never going to have my fingerprints. You can go buy whatever gun you want at like fucking not
Walmart.
anymore, but
The Walmart.
You can go like down the street and buy a gun.
Buc-ee's.
Buc-ee's. If you have a concealed weapons permit, you get it right there. If you don't, you wait 5 days. You're getting your gun. There's no restriction. They're not going to take your fingerprints. They're not going to have a registry of you owning the gun. That's fine. But these other guns, these other ones that are like fully automatic firearms, grenade. You can own a grenade launcher in the United States. It's called a destructive
wild.
device.
That is
Don't you
wild.
think there should be a little bit higher level of scrutiny?
Mijo, I can't even get a driver's license, okay? Like,
Yeah.
No, I'm totally with you. I'm totally with you on this.
I'm
yeah.
okay that they closed the loophole, and now
Look, I'm
you can
sorry,
still
but no
use a
one needs
trust.
the grenade.
You can still use it.
It's
I'm not
not
going to say
necessary.
that. I'm not going to say that. They're
I'm
fun.
not.
I'm saying
they're
that
fun.
It's
I'm
not
saying
necessary.
if you're going to do that and you're going to have a trust, we need to know who's in the trust. That's it, and that's all the ATF changed.
right.
Believe me, the ATF's a pain to deal with sometimes, but they're fine.
Well, this has been extremely enlightening.
On so many levels.
On so many levels. I feel like we
Dinosaurs are
both
birds.
learned this podcast
Dinosaurs
quite a
were
lot.
birds, guys.
Yeah, I've learned so much. Well, listen, thank you for coming and spending an hour with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Any closing thoughts or words for our listening and viewing audience?
Vote in your local elections. When you think about it, they are, Have you guys seen the meme where the mayor from Jaws 1 is still the mayor during like Jaws 4? That's why local elections are so important. Make sure that you vote because you can have such like a huge like.
Because
effect
the
on
whole
your
Jaws
life.
problem could have been solved.
Yes.
With
it's
change.
the same guy, and he's like, "This is fine. Just let the people go in the water."
Government is the problem.
There was like five or six movies in that series.
Excellent. That's actually a great example. I'm going to use this from now on.
Yes,
So I'm going to use this. All right. This has been Law Shit You Should Know. Join us again next time, and thank you.